and welcome all friends and devotees of yoga and meditation and Buddhist studies. Today is Monday, September 14th. We'll continue reading from chapter 3. For all those who are new, these are the works from Grandmaster Ching Kong's research. Grandmaster Ching Kong is one of the leading authorities of Buddhism in our time, contemporary authorities of Buddhism. There are about 4 of them that I admire the most. Grandmaster Xingyun. Grandmaster Xingyun brought Buddhism to Africa. He has built about 7 universities all over the world. He has a university in the United States. He has another Buddhist institution in South Africa, Nanhua Buddha Temple and Buddhist Institute, currently awarding degrees to Africans who wish to become Buddhist monks, study Buddhism, get degrees in Buddhism. That institution is in South Africa. It's in Bronkhorstspruit, South Africa, Nanhua Buddha Temple. Then you have the one in the United States is University of the West in California. And then I think the rest of them are in Taiwan. That's Grandmaster Ching Kong's work. Grandmaster Cheng Yen is the lady. She has done very great work. She started Zuchi Foundation. She's a lady, female Buddha. She started Zuchi Foundation. Very compassionate. They go all over the world doing compassionate works, helping those who are in disaster-stricken areas of the world. For instance, hurricanes, earthquakes, all sorts of disaster-stricken areas, or people in very tough circumstances. Her foundations, Zuchi Foundation, they go all over the place assisting victims of all these natural disasters like earthquakes, hurricanes, and so on. The earthquake that happened in Nepal earlier this year, Zuchi was there helping out and so on and so forth. So she has this great Zuchi Foundation. She also has Zuchi University in Taiwan. That's a very great university. Zuchi University in Taiwan was started by Grandmaster Cheng Yen. Then you have the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama is also a very great Buddhist. I'm sure many folks, some of you might have heard about Dalai Lama of Tibet. He's the Tibetan leader, the Tibetan spiritual and temporal leader of Tibet. The Dalai Lama, I call him the most peaceful man on earth. He had the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989, but not just because of Nobel Peace Prize. There are some folks who are not necessarily very peaceful, in my opinion, who have Nobel Peace Prize. Dalai Lama really merited his Nobel Peace Prize. Dalai Lama, in my opinion, is the most peaceful man on earth. He did very great things. He never wanted trouble. He's just like the Buddha. He left his hometown, Tibet, to avoid unnecessary clash with Chinese authorities. He went over to India. It's not because Tibet is a small country. I always keep saying, and of course, many folks who know about wars, they know that it's not because Tibet is. It's just the nature of the Dalai Lama himself. That is a Buddhist and a real practitioner, a real Buddha, very enlightened Buddha he is. That's why he left his home. Don't forget that the Buddha abdicated his throne to even teach us Buddhism at all. The Buddha was a prince now. He was the heir to the throne of his own father. And he left the throne. He left northern India and moved on to start to investigate suffering and find results and find the solution to suffering. So these people, they are very, very enlightened, very great. They are not attached to the world the way we are. We are so attached to the world, and that's where the problems of suffering come from. Too much attachment to earthly things and to material things. That's where suffering comes from. So the Buddha was highly enlightened. He was not as attached as many of us are today to worldly things. Dalai Lama is also not very attached. He was able to leave Tibet. He left Tibet to avoid trouble with Chinese authorities. That's why I hold him as the most peaceful man on earth. I really admire him, I admire what he did. I know some leaders of tiny countries who will get big powers and fight big powers. Although they are tiny countries, they are tiny states, they will get big powers to fight with big powers. Dalai Lama has got the highest honors in the United States. He received gold medal from George Bush. He received the Congress gold medal awarded by President Bush a few years ago, the highest honor anybody can get in the United States. Dalai Lama has that honor. He has led the Senate in prayer, United States Senate. He has received, like, God knows, almost 100 doctoral awards, honorary doctoral awards, and so many honorary awards. Dalai Lama, I've seen the listing. He has doctorates everywhere in the world. Dalai Lama is very great. He's a mighty scholar, very giant scholar. He is a very peaceful person, very peaceful. So I call him the most peaceful man on earth because he's really the most peaceful person I know of. It's not because Tibet is a small country. I know people who would have had half the size of Tibet, who would have got big powers to try to fight with China. Dalai Lama did not. So Dalai Lama is a very peaceful person, very, very peaceful person. And I really commend that enlightenment in him. And then we have Grandmaster Ching Kong. I've mentioned Grandmaster Singyung, Grandmaster Cheng Yang, the Dalai Lama, Grandmaster Ching Kong, of course, is very learned. He's a professor, very, very learned, highly enlightened Buddha. In my opinion, he's a great, 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 great scholar. He has received honor, the highest honor in Australia, from the Queen of England, from Queen Elizabeth. He has that honor from the Queen. He has he's been a professor for a long time and a Buddhist monk for a long time. He has studied widely, just as I have tried to start following the footsteps. He has studied Christianity in detail. He has reverend fathers and reverend sisters who belong to his foundation. He has studied Islam. There are many imams from Islam who study under Master Ching Kong. He has studied Christianity. He has a lot of friends. Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. He studied all the world religions, really, major world religions. Following his footsteps, I decided to do the same. So I studied Christianity, I studied Islam, I studied Hinduism and Buddhism. Grandmaster Ching Kong is very vast in studies. And he's a professor. He's in Australia. He was born 1927. He's almost 90 years old now. He's a real elderly person. He started a big Pure Land institution in Australia and has many institutes all over the world, Pure Land institutions all over the world. Grandmaster Ching Kong is very honorable. But what I honor him mostly for, beyond all that, I think is the research he really did investigating into the time of the Buddha. And when you really look at Grandmaster Ching Kong's teaching, it brings a lot of light in Buddhism. It really enlightens as it shows us the kinds of relationship, the reason why Buddhism is different from other teachings. Lots of values have been lost in Buddhism over many centuries, over the millenniums actually. Lots of values have been lost. For instance, as Grandmaster Ching Kong really regrets in one of his writings, it's sad that Buddhism nowadays, lots of lectures, the educational institution that Buddhism is, it begins to lose the value of that. Lots of followers now, essentially, they have misconstrued Buddhism and mispracticed. But I will not really say mispracticed. You know, it's difficult to say mispracticed because, you see, the Buddha, everything goes back to who the Buddha is again. The Buddha is such a vast. The Buddha is like the ocean or a very great mountain, Mount Everest. The Buddha is such a vast person. The Buddha was very, very vast. So vast that, you see, there are so many schools that have come from Buddhism. And as Grandmaster Ching Kong correctly says, you cannot fault the practices because the practices are so many. See, for instance, if, okay, I speak Chinese, I speak English, I speak Esan, I speak Edo, I speak so many, okay, a little bit of Urhobo, several Nigerian languages. So, these are different languages. So now followers may come following me, and some may start an Esan school, some may start Edo school, some may start Chinese school, English schools, Urhobo schools. See, different aspects from the same teacher. That's the point. I really hope you're able to get the point from there. The Buddha was so vast. It's just like having a faculty of science with Department of Mathematics, Department of Physics, Department of Chemistry, Department of Biology. But mathematics is not physics. But physics is not chemistry, and chemistry is not biology, but they are all a part of faculty of science. They are all sciences. So that's exactly how the Buddha was very vast. The Buddha had so many things he did. He chanted, could sing, could chant, okay? He was also a researcher, he studied, okay? He lectured, he performed yoga, you see? So different scholars that came after him, they now take one area of that. Some may take chanting and begin to chant a lot. I know Vietnamese, because I studied in Vietnamese Buddhism in Texas. Vietnamese love to chant a lot. Then you have some others who may do the scholarly part. All these things are different aspects of Buddhism, different parts of the Buddha, so they are all correct. But then you have to go back to what exactly Buddha's intention was to really understand the relationship. So Master Chin Kong brings out the relationship that between us and the Buddha there is a teacher-student relationship. The Buddha is not a god as they sort of turn him into a god for worship. The Buddha is not really, that was not who he was. He was just a teacher. The relationship is teacher-student, and therefore Buddhism, in my opinion, is a universal institution for special learning. I'll read a little bit of chapter 3. We are entering chapter 3, and you can't be lost because the websites are all relevant websites I have attached to this video. So if you click on the website, the book, The Art of Living by Grandmaster Chin Kong, just move to chapter 3. Chapter 3, I think, will be page 6. And I'll lecture from there. Our goal in studying Buddhism is to open up our wisdom. Our goal in studying Buddhism is to open up our wisdom. To attain this goal, we cultivate purity of mind. In today's society, our greatest obstacles are TV, radio, newspapers, and magazines. These all contain contents that can pollute our minds. I often persuade people not to read or listen to these things. When our hearts are free from these unneeded afflictions, we can live each day in peace and happiness, thus allowing our minds to return to purity. With an undiluted mind, one will see matters of life clearer, more deeply, and farther than others. This is because a settled and concentrated mind is a mind of wisdom. The key in cultivating the Buddha's teachings is having a settled and concentrated mind. A settled and concentrated mind. In practicing the Pure Land method, purity of mind is of foremost importance. Purity of mind. The Infinite Life Sutra teaches us to cultivate purity, equality, and enlightenment. Being mindful of the Buddha is cultivating the above. For Buddha Amitabha is purity, equality, and enlightenment. When we recite the Buddha's name, we are reminded of these qualities. In China, Buddhism can be divided into 10 schools, aside from the 2 small vehicle schools, which have already declined. The 8 remaining schools belong to the Great Vehicle. 2 schools, Zen and Xing, enter the Buddha's teachings through the method of understanding and enlightenment. They seek the great enlightenment to understand the heart or mind and uncover the self-nature. Usually, those of lesser capabilities to become enlightened on their own have much difficulty in reaching their goals through this method. Thus, to cultivate the Zen school requires a high level of wisdom, ability, and a considerably pure mind. Without these, one would have to start learning from the basis of Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings. I'll stop at this point. Folks, it's your duty to reflect, to contemplate, and to meditate. This is what the Buddha says. It's your duty, that's your responsibility. You do the reflection, you do the contemplation, you do the meditation on what we have discussed this morning. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. If you've been watching my videos, my contact address, email address is c.aburime@hotmail.com or colorcollege@hotmail.com. Again, c.aburime@hotmail.com or colorcollege@hotmail.com. Enjoy your Monday. Have a most pleasant day, folks. Namo Amitofo.